What happens when two of country music's biggest stars sit down for what's supposed to be a light, friendly chat, and it turns into one of the most intense confrontations ever seen on daytime television? What unfolded between Jason Aldean and Kelly Clarkson wasn't just awkward. It was a full-on clash that ended with Jason storming off the set, leaving Kelly standing there, shocked, and the audience frozen in disbelief. Before we break down what actually happened that made this interview spiral so fast, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and drop a comment below telling us whose side you're on, because trust me, you'll have an opinion after hearing this. The interview began normally enough. Kelly welcomed Jason to her show with her usual warmth, flashing that big, friendly smile she's known for. The crowd cheered loudly as Jason took his seat, returning her energy with that easy grin that's made him one of country's most relatable stars. The lights were bright, the mood was easy, and nothing suggested that less than 20 minutes later, everything would unravel. Kelly started things with some light conversation, asking about Jason's current tour and how he manages to juggle that busy schedule with family life. Jason answered smoothly, talking about his kids, his wife, and how much he still loves performing for his fans after all these years. The audience laughed at his stories. Kelly nodded along, and for a moment it felt like any other friendly celebrity chat, until it didn't. Then Kelly leaned forward, her tone shifting just slightly. "So Jason," she began, "I want to ask you about something a lot of people have been talking about. Your music always connects with a certain audience, and you've been very open about your values. How do you handle criticism from people who might not agree with those values?" You could see Jason's expression tighten just a bit. Not angry, but more careful. "Well, Kelly," he said, "if you're in this business long enough, you learn that not everyone's going to agree with you, and that's fine. I make music for the people who connect with it. I'm not trying to please everyone." Kelly nodded, but there was something in her voice when she continued. "Sure," she said, "but don't you think that as someone with such a big platform, there's a responsibility to think about how your message might come across to different groups, especially when some of your lyrics and images have been seen as divisive?" The room grew quiet. Jason's jaw clenched a little. "Divisive how?" he asked, his tone sharp but steady. Kelly kept her composure. "Well, there are people who feel like some of your recent songs play into stereotypes or create an us versus them feeling. I'm not saying that's your goal, but perception matters, doesn't it?" Jason leaned back. "Kelly, I think you're reading too much into it. I write about real life, about how people live and think in small towns across America. If that makes some people uncomfortable, maybe that says more about them than it does about me." Kelly's smile stayed, but her eyes had a different energy now. "But Jason," she said softly, "small-town America isn't just one kind of person. There are Black families, Latino families, LGBTQ folks living there too. When your songs show such a narrow image of small-town life, aren't you leaving out their stories?" The tension was now impossible to ignore. Jason leaned forward, his tone firm. "I'm not leaving anyone out, Kelly. I'm telling stories from my experience. That's what artists do. Nobody accuses you of leaving people out when you sing about your own life." "That's different," Kelly said quickly, and the friendliness was fading. "I'm not using imagery that's been tied to exclusion or division. You know what certain symbols mean to people, Jason?" Jason's voice hardened. "What I know is that I came here for a conversation, and I'm getting lectured about my own songs on national TV by someone who came in with an agenda." Kelly stayed calm but firm. "It's not an agenda to ask you to think about your influence. You have millions of fans who listen to you. Don't you think it's worth considering whether your message might be feeding into division?" "Division?" Jason said, his voice rising slightly. "You want to talk about division? How about telling half the country their values are wrong? That's real division, Kelly." The crowd was silent now. The air felt thick. The producers were likely panicking in the control room, but Kelly didn't back off. "Nobody's saying your way of life is wrong, Jason, but when parts of it make others feel pushed aside, that deserves to be questioned." Jason laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what's funny, Kelly? When you sing about empowerment, everyone cheers. But when I sing about pride and where I come from, it's suddenly controversial. That's not fair. My songs don't shut people out, Kelly said, her voice tight. There's a difference between empowerment and exclusion. Jason shook his head. I'm not excluding anyone. I'm celebrating who I am. If someone's offended by that, that's their issue, not mine. Kelly took a deep breath. Jason, I'm not attacking you. I'm asking if you've ever thought that maybe some of your songs make certain listeners feel unwelcome? Unsafe? Jason repeated, incredulous. You're saying my music makes people unsafe? From what? Lyrics? I'm saying words and images have power, Kelly replied carefully. They can include or exclude. They can make people feel seen or ignored. You have influence, Jason. That matters. Jason was shaking his head now. This is unreal. I thought we were going to talk about music and my tour, not turn this into some moral lecture about what I should or shouldn't write. They're not my standards, Kelly said firmly. They're about human decency and inclusion. That was the breaking point. Jason stood, still wearing his microphone. You know what, Kelly? I don't need to sit here and be told that who I am and what I believe is indecent. I respect you, but this is an ambush disguised as an interview. Gasps filled the room. Kelly also stood. Jason, sit down. Let's talk about this like adults. Adults don't ambush each other, Jason shot back. Adults don't invite someone on their show to tear them down. I'm not tearing you down, Kelly said, her voice rising now too. I'm asking you to open your mind a little. What's offensive, Jason said, pointing, is you telling me my viewpoint doesn't matter unless it matches yours. Kelly's cheeks flushed. That's not what I said, Jason, and you know it. Jason let out a cold laugh. This isn't criticism, Kelly, it's a setup. A hit piece. The cameras were still rolling. Crew members looked stunned. Kelly's producer waved frantically from behind the set, but neither of them stopped. A hit piece? Kelly repeated. I asked you fair questions about your music. The same ones a lot of people are asking. If you can't handle that, maybe that says something. You want me to defend myself? Jason said, raising his voice. Fine. I defend my right to write songs that speak to my people, to my community. I don't owe anyone an apology for that. Nobody's asking you to apologize, Kelly snapped back. But you can't put your art out there and act like it doesn't affect anyone. You don't get to ignore how people feel about it. Jason took a step closer. You invited me here to grill me about my values and then call me the problem because I won't back down. I'm proud of who I am. Kelly folded her arms. You're turning this into a personal thing. It's about the effect your art has. Jason's eyes narrowed. You can't separate me from my art. My songs come from who I am. If you have an issue with my music, you have an issue with me. That's not true, Kelly said, shaking her head. Artists grow. They change. They reflect. You're just refusing to even consider that. And you, Jason countered, want me to agree with you to prove I'm a good person. Well, I'm not doing that. Kelly's tone was tight now. You keep saying this is about me, but it's not. It's about empathy, Jason. It's about growth. What you call growth, Jason shot back, I call forgetting where you came from. Kelly stepped forward, frustrated. You can honor your roots and still grow, Jason. That's what real artists do. I'm not excluding anyone, Jason insisted. If people want to twist my songs into something negative, that's on them. But it's there, Jason, Kelly said, her voice firm but calm. The words, the symbols, they mean something. Intent doesn't erase impact. Jason's expression was stone. So what do you want me to do? Apologize? Promise to change my songs until you approve of them? The goal, Kelly said, her voice trembling slightly, is for you to realize that your platform matters. That your words have weight. Echo chamber, Jason interrupted loudly. You're calling my life an echo chamber while sitting in Hollywood telling me how to think. That's rich. Kelly's tone broke. I'm surrounded by all kinds of people, Jason. All kinds. Can you say the same? When's the last time you talked with someone who didn't share your beliefs? Every day, Jason fired back. I don't sort people into groups. I don't decide who deserves to be heard based on labels. Kelly looked stunned. That's not what I'm doing. I'm asking you to be accountable for your art. No, Jason said firmly. You're asking me to conform. You want my songs filtered through your politics. That's not art, that's propaganda. Kelly froze for a second. Propaganda? You think empathy is propaganda? Jason's voice was low but clear. Telling artists they can only write what fits one viewpoint. That's propaganda. And that's what this is. Kelly's face fell. Unbelievable. You're making yourself the victim when all I did was ask you to think about other people. And